Are you downsizing? Maybe need more room because of additions to the family, or possibly seeking that dream home you've always wanted? Well, Tim Eisner at Royal LePage Atlantic is the guy for you. With a proven track record and multiple awards, Tim goes above and beyond to find out your needs and exactly what you're looking for. So if you're seeking a new home or trying to sell your current one, contact Tim at 902-499-5717 or check him out on Facebook at Tim Eisner. Again, that's 902-499-5717. Trust me, when all is said and done, we'll be saying Tim Eisner strikes again. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hope everybody's ready for the holidays. Pretty sure I am, which is odd for me because I'm usually in the store on Christmas Eve grabbing something. But chances are I probably forgot something small, which I will be anyways. But as of right now, I feel like I'm all done. But anyways, welcome to episode 76 of Outside the Chute. I'm your host, Randy Frame. This week's OTC Player of the Week comes to us from California as Brianna Glass of the BSC Bengals Austin Ring 09 team takes home the weekly honors. Bree hit .642 with 4 runs scored, 3 walks, and 6 RBIs as her and the Bengals captured the Christmas Toy Drive tournament last weekend. Great work, Bree. Awesome job. On to this week's guest, and we sat down and chatted with the creator of Fastpitch the Movie himself, Jeremy Spear. Jeremy got into the game of fast pitch after playing baseball growing up, which included 4 years at Yale where he would play Division I with the Bulldogs. Later on down the road, after spending time on the New York art scene, the competitive juices for sport were missing and he jumped into the game full force and decided to document that journey, which resulted in the creation of what we all know as Fastpitch the Movie. We're going to talk to Jeremy about getting a start in the game, how big of an adjustment there was going from baseball to softball, the epic NCAA pitching duel between Frank Viola and Ron Darling that he was a part of, and of course all the ins and outs of the movie that he created. It was an absolute pleasure for Hopi and I to talk to Jeremy, as he played a huge part in this game at showing everyone just how the game was back in the 90s with this documentary. We've said it on here many times. If you haven't seen this, do yourself a favor and please do so. With that being said, grab that drink, sit back, relax, because here we go.
I got the world in my palm, lights, camera, action, it's on. I can't describe what I'm feeling, ain't never felt this freedom. I got the world in my palm, lights, camera, action, it's on. Ain't never felt this freedom. Could you say that anything goes, anything goes, anything goes, anything goes, anything goes, anything goes.
Hey.
That's a weird start.
I know. I just mix it up. What?
How are you, Dick?
Good, buddy. How you doing?
Good, man. Good.
Crazy weather? What?
Jesus Christ.
Speaking of the weather.
We went through 4 seasons in 72 hours.
Honestly.
I know we talked about it before, but our weather is a mess. So Thursday, snowstorm. Wait, first let's start last week. Last week, Monday. Rain like a bitch.
Yep.
Rain
Wind.
like you wouldn't believe. Rain and wind. And then Thursday, snowstorm. And I don't even know what we got. It was a lot anyway. Enough that I had to plow my driveway.
It rains between 20 and 25 here. And I talked to some of my customers down in the South Shore. They got like 16 to 18 inches, they said.
Holy shit.
So, I mean, it ranged.
Yeah. So that was Thursday, snowstorm. Yeah. Great. I love having a little bit of snow on the ground.
Yeah.
You know, lights look good. Plow the driveway. Get my 4-wheeler. I love it. So much fun.
Yep.
Friday. -19 when I went to work Friday morning. I had to do a walk on a guy's property for a geothermal job. -19. Didn't have a hat on. And I don't have any hair, as you know. Freezing cold. Saturday, +15. What the fuck is going on with our weather?
I know.
Wait, but Saturday, +15, rainstorm.
Yeah.
And then today, beautiful out, +15.
Yes.
But the ground is a mess.
Oh, it's unreal.
4 seasons.
It's crazy. I mean, you're going into Elmsdale, you look at the sod fields there, and
it looks like a lake. I know.
Yeah.
I wish it was a lake.
Yeah, really.
Water
It's pretty cool.
Anyway.
But yeah, the friggin' weather's just unreal.
Weather's been shitty.
Yeah.
COVID's been really shitty. I think my wife said we had 122 cases that were announced today.
Oh.
Yeah.
I never saw that.
Yeah, and they don't usually announce on the weekends.
Yeah.
So it's bad.
Oh, man.
COVID's bad. St. FX got hammered with COVID.
Is that why your game got canceled tonight for hockey?
No. Yes, it was. Yeah. There was a kid that tested, and 11-year-old got tested and had COVID. So we have some kids that are still 11 years old to play on our U13 team. So they said there's a good chance that we're not going to play. So we canceled, which I was okay with. It was at 5:45 in Tantallon, which is an hour drive from home. So
right.
And it's always rainy and dark when you drive there.
Yeah, true. And you had your work party last night.
And we had our work party last night, which was fun. Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah. So anyway, we've got it looks like we're wrapping up our Fastpitch the Movie guests on here.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
We got the maker of it.
Yeah,
Jeremy Spear. And like I said, I watched it again today.
I know. Yeah.
I honestly don't know how many times I've watched it, but I mean, I have so many questions for him. Like,
that's cool.
Like I have so many things to ask him. I'm probably going to forget a couple of them, but I just want to know what went into making this movie because it was so good.
It was so good. I know it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I wish somehow another one could be made. We'll ask him if he can do that. I don't know if it's going to happen, but
maybe we'll start talking.
And there's a good chance you will forget stuff because you forgot that you wished Lolly a happy birthday 2 days before you wished him a happy birthday again.
I know.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
oh, fuck.
Lolly.
We already said Lolly.
Yeah. Oh, man. We're starting early. Early for this one.
That's the only time I'm going to say Lolly on the podcast today. Lolly.
Yeah. So anyway, lots to get to with Jeremy. Talk to him about, of course, the movie. But of course, he went to Yale University, which he touched on in the movie. But did you know that he played in a game where Frank Viola and who was it? Ron Darling.
Oh, yeah.
They went 12 innings. It was 0-0. And I think whoever won was going to the College World Series.
Wow.
And do you remember in the movie where that play where Jeremy was running in the rundown with the guy?
Yeah.
And then he threw it to the guy at first and went, that was the winning run in that game. That was that game, apparently.
No way.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't know that. Greg Leather sent me a text with an article from that game.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
Thanks, Greg. I like that. I love those little tidbits. So
that's
awesome. We're going to talk to Jeremy about that because that's Frank Viola.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy.
Got the hit against Frank Viola. Yeah, that's unreal.
It's a long time since
and apparently Ron Darling in that game, who was playing with Yale, was throwing a no-hitter like in the 11th inning.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Anyway.
I got to ask you, how are the podcasts and the downloads going?
Very good.
Yeah?
Very good.
So I think last time we said you were up over what for downloads?
Oh, we're up over 40,000.
40,000. Okay, good. Yeah.
We're getting up there, man. It's
nice.
It still blows my mind, but
it's pretty amazing. Yeah. I just left. My wife had a Christmas recital today for a dance. Well, I didn't attend.
What?
No, I had a nap on the couch actually, and I was just talking to one of my friends there, Doug Wig, talking about the podcast and stuff, and he said it's amazing how many people you can actually reach out to and touch. And I was telling him, a lot of those people, they just love hearing the stories of other players and what they've gone through, where they've been, their experiences, where they've traveled. It's awesome.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
And actually, I was thinking about this today when we're going to be talking to Jeremy, who's in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Yeah.
And he's 6 hours behind us.
Yeah.
We were talking to Shane Hunahunu, who was in Australia, and he was, 12 hours ahead of us, 13 hours. It just, blows my mind, the people we get to talk to. And
it's awesome.
I'm grateful for it.
Me too.
Yeah. So let's get to Jeremy.
Let's get on to Jeremy.
I live for the moment. Yo.
All right, here we go. Jeremy, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Glad to be here. Thanks for doing what you guys do.
Yeah. How's things going down in Hawaii today?
Got the whole Honolulu Marathon in place. I guess it's not as quite as crazy a situation as usual because I think they have something like upwards of 15 to 20,000 runners that come every year from Japan, and because of the pandemic, it sort of slowed that whole process. So it's a mellow one. It's a mellow one this year, but normally it's a lot of fun. And I think the canyons usually run by my house at about 5:30 in the morning.
Shit.
They're on their way to the finish line already.
So 15 to 20,000
from Japan alone.
From Japan alone, go there?
Yeah. It's a big, I guess, it's a big sort of touristic event, but culturally an exchange, and a lot of people in Japan just use it as a really sort of a key point to train for and get a visit to Hawaii.
Nice.
Right on.
That's awesome.
Right on. So yeah, you'd mentioned there earlier today that you had to park your car like a mile away from your place just to.
Yeah, but I realized that it wasn't as crazy as in the years past, just because they were mellower about letting cars through, and there's still an avenue. But we're right on the loop. We're right on the loop.
Nice.
Right on. So so what's going on in your life today? Tell us about the family and whatnot.
Well, I'm a late dad. I have a lot of energy, but as we all know, those folks who are dads, it takes a lot more out of you than you ever imagine it. I guess most things in life are sort of like that. You never know what you're really getting into until you get into it, and that's usually a good thing, whether it be marriage, playing ball, making a film, whatever it is. There's always more to it than you might imagine, but at the same time, that's what makes it rewarding.
That's incredible.
Oh, for sure. So I saw some, posts on social media that you did. Is that your son? That's a pitcher.
I have twin boys. They're in ninth grade. They just turned 15. One has been blessed to throw lefty. He's kind of ambidextrous, but most people know that the quickest way onto a rock is if you throw as a lefty.
Yeah.
And you throw relatively hard, all the better.
Yep, for sure. So twin boys, are they both into baseball? Are they?
No, one survived like Pinto, they call it over here, and I was just so happy that he didn't walk into a swinging bat, take a ball off the face or whatever, and he did his one season and called it a day, and that's fine. He was a little bit of like Ferdinand the Bull, kind of picking daisies in the outfield, and didn't really want to get into it. The first day he had a tryout, they were making the kids, they're 5 or 6 years old, and they're running from first base to second or first to third. And it was a windy day, and he kind of was doing spins on his way to second and putting his hands in the air and smiling and going, feel the wind. And I was like kind of aghast, hoping this guy might have a little speed in his body like his dad. But he was more interested in feeling the elements, and I was like, okay, he may not be on this journey, but he's actually turned out to be quite he's on the cheer team, he does dance, he's in musical theater, he does tumbling, he's going to go out for springboard diving this week. Oh shit,
that's great.
He's like a kinetic machine, so to speak.
Wow,
incredible.
That's awesome. So before we get into the game of fast pitch, tell us about getting your start in the game, in the game of baseball when you were younger. Okay.
Well, this may have come through in the film, but, I pretty much had a very non-traditional entry into the world of fast pitch, into the world of sports. I always had this sort of kind of alternative background. I grew up in New York City. I grew up then when there was really no organized youth ball. I'd go down to the sort of dog walk parks and sort of really dark, dingy kind of unkept fields near me. And I play kind of pickup ball with mostly Puerto Rican or Dominican kids in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And we would self-hit. And the first field I used to play on was right on Riverside Drive near the West Side Highway in New York City. And you couldn't self-hit the ball to left field because there were cars. It was, just over what would be his shortstop's head. There was a full on, 4-lane car, not really a freeway, but it was a bypass area. And then center field, I guess second base was like an oak tree, and there were dog poop all around the field. And that's how I learned to play. And you kind of had to self-hit, and, usually it was a game of 3-on-4 or 4-on-5 or something. Mm-hmm. So I really had no organized ball. And then I had a chance to go to a New England prep school where my father had gone, and I had no idea what I was getting into. But lo and behold, they actually had organized sports. And so at ninth grade, that was the first time I ever played on an organized team in my life.
Wow.
And I was always, streetwise and athletic, and we'd make up games in the street and did crazy stuff, but there was no structure. There was no instruction whatsoever. And, I got there and I started at the lowest level of a baseball team. They had, some student assistant who was like, had never played ball in his life, coaching the team with a music teacher. And I was like, oh my God, they just didn't, they were just assigned the youngest baseball players in the school. But lo and behold, by my senior year, I had made like an all-league team, and I think out of a 14-game season, I was a small guy, a middle infielder, but I hit, I don't know, 6 or 8 home runs in a 12 or 14-game schedule, and I got a little bit of attention. And I said, well, I think I can do this at the next level. And I had applied early to an Ivy League school, and they'd heard about me, but I wasn't like in the normal sort of system of recruitment, but they knew of me. And when I got there, I primarily walked on, although, it was a little different then. It was a little bit more free form, and they had double sport athletes, and, they knew that some football players weren't really in the baseball carousel, but they knew that they could play baseball. And lo and behold, half our team were football players who played baseball, or even actually some hockey players who played baseball. Yeah. And so our coach had walked into an arena of talent. It was one of the most successful baseball teams in the history of Yale. We went to the NCAAs. Ron Darling was my teammate in college. He was recruited as a shortstop, quite not strangely, but he grew a lot, and he had such a live arm, and he didn't really move like a shortstop at the college level. And they said, hey, why don't you try pitching? He had never really pitched. And 2.5, 3 years later, he was a first-round draft pick. The Texas Rangers, and at one point was considered to be the number 1 draft choice in the country, but he ended up going, I think, number 8 in the country or 9 that year.
Wow!
So it was a real interesting journey. I was raw. I didn't have. I had a lot of speed, a lot of quickness, a lot of good eye-hand coordination, but I really didn't have the pedigree or the background that basically all my other teammates had. I'd never played a game of summer ball in my life, for instance. And so, when I think about what I'm doing now as a father, it's just kind of mind-boggling the way that the game and youth sports has shifted in terms of what is expected of kids, and the private lessons and the knowledge, and the professionalism of a 13-year-old swing at the age of 13. It doesn't mean all these kids who look like they know what they're doing. There's still the same amount of roster spaces on teams. There's still the number of college programs, but it is competitive as heck. That's all I can say. It's really something.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Now, it's funny you brought up Ron Darling, because I had to ask about that Frank Viola Ron Darling game, because I mean that had to be pretty crazy.
That has gained a lot of traction over the years. It's become a lot more famous a game than we realized when we were actually going through it. It was the NCAA regional, and we thought we were one of the 2 better teams in that 4-team regional, and the winner would go on to Omaha. And that was pretty unheard of for a Yale team back in the day. But it turned out we locked arms with them, and Ronnie was just on fire. Frank Viola was incredible, and we lost. And I was involved in a game in a double steal in the last inning. Ronnie threw, I think, 11 and 1/3 innings of no-hit ball, which is still
that's crazy.
NCAA record. Yeah, they had guys who were, had their number 3 hitter, I think, was hitting 500 for the season or something, and Ronnie made 60. I mean, he had incredible stuff that day. But getting back to that game, they've now talked about it as being the most famous college game ever played, and it's like, really? I was there. I didn't know that. I didn't think that. I didn't know that. But it certainly gained a lot of attraction, because it's been written about a lot, and the fact that Ron and Frank Viola ended up becoming, very successful and famous major league players who ended up playing on the same team with the Mets at some point. And John Franco was on that team, and he didn't even get in the game. And there was just a whole backdrop of stuff that kind of this nexus of like really, and famous baseball writer was in the stands writing about it. He ended up writing for the New Yorker magazine, a famous piece that centered on the game and kind of wove the history of the game and in the context of sitting in the stands and the whole history of Yale baseball and presidents who played for Yale and on and on. It just was a beautifully written literary piece, and all these things just sort of came together. Another aside is that a lot of people don't know that Bart Giamatti was actually the president of Yale when I was there. And he was a huge Red Sox fan and a baseball fan. And he was so incredibly, literate and astute. And he would make comments about the game and the nature of it. And he was at a lot of those games. I believe he saw that game too. And he left Yale a few years later and became the commissioner of Major League Baseball. And, decided to whole Pete Rose scandal. And I believe would have been an incredible commissioner, but who knows? It was he walked into a hornet's nest, so to speak.
Sure did.
I guess he did.
Yeah, a lot of people weren't happy with some of his decision making, but he was certainly a man of great moral compass and really loved the game and saw it in a bigger context than just balls and strikes, so to speak.
Right. Now, before we get into the Fastpitch movie, I got to ask what in the movie we saw what how you started in the game with New Jersey there. What between your time from Yale and when you joined them, what were you doing?
Well, I again had a different career path. I was the only art major at Yale who played on a varsity team. I was a studio art major, so I painted and made sculpture in the midst of, playing sports. And I, distinctly remember having a conversation with one of my painting advisors, and he was like kind of cornering me and just telling me, hey, this sports thing you're doing, you can't really do both. You either got to choose. And here I am, a 20-year-old, student at a liberal arts school that's supposed to be demonstrating, sort of wide base of knowledge and putting people out into the world with that perspective. But I kind of understood what he was saying, but I was like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but I think I'm going to keep going with both. And, I think too, it's sort of indicative of like how things have sort of changed over the last 20, 30 years. We all wear so many hats these days. We live in a pretty hybrid culture. And, we're just asked to do with a lot of things. And I think it's partially due to the information age, the way that people have to make ends meet. I'm kind of glad that, there was a time, and probably I was on the tail end of it, when people thought, oh, if you don't get drafted in your sport, you don't play professional, it's over. You did college, you did whatever you did, it's over. Done. Go find that 9-to-5 job and sell insurance for the rest of your life and provide for your family. And to me, that was not my journey and kind of a dreary kind of end game, if you ask me. And I always kind of kept the two at least afloat in my life. And if you look at, sports today, people recognize the idea. You see it in marketing and TV, and the idea that people can just, never give up, keep doing it. It's probably a slogan for a night or something. You see people, 90 years old who are running the marathon here today, exactly. Probably. And, it's applauded now. It used to be like, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. Why are you doing that? Why would you want to pursue this? That's just for kids. Well, I think in a good way, we've had sort of a paradigm shift in our culture to applaud people who want to pursue things that they care about. And a lot of times that's sport or physical activity. And so I think we're better off for it. And so getting back to your question there, I think, I had this dual sort of existence where I was making art in New York and I was creating some sort of a career path with that. But I felt, something was missing. And I still played I got into some local softball leagues in New York, and it was like modified, no bunting, no stealing, 10 men. But there were some great athletes. I was playing on, some, city championship or local league championship teams. And there were guys who, 7 or 8 of our starters were D1, ex-D1 players, and other guys who played college, or they were, just ultimately really good softball players. But that was the context of it. And it was sort of like, I never knew this whole other world of fast pitch.
Yeah.
And the travel and the Moneyball tournaments and the world tournaments and the international game. I just had no idea it existed. And so I did detail that a little bit in the movie. There's a little bit more backdrop. And for the purpose of the film, I kind of I won't say I glossed it over, but I sort of simplified my entry into the game.
Mm-hmm.
But for the purpose of the film, that's pretty much how I got into it. I sort of was missing something later in my life. I was in my mid-30s by the time I joined a major men's fast pitch team, and I was off and running, and I guess I was still hungry for something.
Oh,
and
love it.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So,
what was it about the game? When you first was there something about the game when you first joined it? At the higher level there, was there something about it that you were like, man, this is great?
Well, yeah, the pitching primarily. I mean, the pitching set the tone, and because of the speed of the game, defensively too, it was like, okay, the stakes are higher here because the ball comes off that bat when it's struck well with a huge amount of velocity and quickness, and I love that. I love the shortness of the game and the speed of it, which in some ways I felt like might have matched up with my personal skills in some ways, like kind of baseball in a bandbox and making it sort of shorter and quicker.
Right.
And I really enjoyed it. I admittedly, and it's evidence in the film, I struggled with the hitting. I think if I were to look back on the whole journey, I probably just would have committed to being a right-handed hitter and staying the course, but I would have had to, really see a lot of top level fast pitch and really just, make sure I was shortening it up and doing the right things to become more proficient as a right-handed hitter. But, that wasn't my case. I had a lot of other things going on when I was 35. And for me to take off and play at the time was a 60 to 80 game season was kind of crazy.
Especially at that age. Yes, of course.
Really though.
And trying to learn how to slap bunt from the other side of the plate. And
So Nick's taking all the credit for that.
It was Nick's idea.
Nick's idea. Is that true?
And well, he should. I literally never gave it a thought, and was like, wait a minute. And he said, do it. And I said, okay. I think it was in Findlay, Ohio, the first time I ever tried it. And I got on base 2 out of 4 at bats, and that was good enough for me to say, let's keep it going. As ugly as it might have looked. I was like, hey, I can be ugly and effective.
Man, it worked for Todd. Worked for Todd King his whole career. Jesus.
Yeah. Well, Todd was he made it look a lot more elegant than my style. I played with Todd.
Well, he always batted left.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump deep dive into this movie here. First, I gotta thank you for making this movie because I don't know how many times I've watched it.
He watched it again today.
I watched it again today, just for for purposes. But
I'm glad someone is.
Well,
thank you. And
I've watched it many times.
For being fans of it and doing what you guys do. I haven't watched the film for, I don't know, 20 years or something. It's been a long time to watch it. Yep. Wow.
So how did it all
fits with me? Before I got into it, I'm thinking, should I watch the film? I was like, no, why would I do that? It's sort of just part of my being, It's like,
that's right.
I don't know. It's I had a grandmother, and she was very well read and everything. And she used to talk to me when I was young, and she'd say, history, culture is kind of like when you forget all the dates and you forget all the numbers and the names, what you're left is the culture of what you've just studied. And I'm like, yeah, that's good enough for me. I think that's kind of how I feel about the film and my journey. It's just like the things you kind of resonate are going to stay with you. and that's kind of where I'm at with that, with filmmaking.
It's awesome.
Right on. So how did it all come about? What was the motivation behind it?
I think it was, always trying to add some meaning to what I was doing in my life, and always finding kind of an adventure and a challenge. So, I had a challenge laid out in front of me on the field. I had a challenge in front of me artistically, or from a narrative storytelling point of view. And I'd never made a film before, but I was like, I just sort of woke up kind of in somewhere on the journey in Ashland, Ohio or somewhere. And I was like, oh my God, I had no idea about this. I had no idea about the people who inhabited this little sporting universe or international sporting universe. And I said, I just got to tell the story. I don't know how to do it. I'm going to make a film. And
It's awesome.
most people who knew, like, you're out of your mind. But I got a lot of gifts from my family. I think my mother was a huge influence on me, and the fact that she was fearless. She's always take on projects and never look back. And I think I inherited that from her. I saw it up close, and I was like, well, what do I got to lose? Nobody else is doing it. Let's go.
Yeah.
So
now I read, was it originally supposed to be a documentary about Shane? I think I read something about that. Or is that true?
I think, well, as filmmaking goes, or even writing or whatever, sometimes you come up with a concept and you sort of like kind of chew on it a little bit, and that's sort of your initial impetus for something, and then it morphs into something else. And I think originally when I first met Shane and saw the accolades, and I thought, oh, this is a beautiful kind of like surprising identity story and sort of folkloric, acclaim that this guy has in the small town of Ashland, and he was such a celebrity and he was a character. And I thought, oh, I could maybe do a film just based on him. But then I started looking around and meeting more people, and I realized, hey, this is going to be an ensemble piece. There's just too many varied, interesting, wacky characters, basically, who inhabit this world. And I think people would be really surprised to see that this is going on. And that's sort of where I kind of expanded the roles of people and expanded the idea of what this film could be about.
Right on. I have so many questions about it.
That's why we're here, Randy.
That's why we're here. But was there a lot of film from it that actually, that you didn't put out? Like, was there a lot of, that didn't make the final cut?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, we had shot, between my personal filming, and then when I had crews involved, there was probably over 200 hours of footage that was filmed. And then, you're talking about condensing that to an hour and a half. Wow. And
yeah.
Some of that hour and a half is archival and, sourced from different things. And, so at the end, you have an idea about what you want to do and what you want to get into film. And a lot of times you end up cutting it. It's sort of like, there's a term in, I don't know, documentary editing circles. It's like, you got to kill your babies because it's painful. It's like, oh my God, I want this in there. But you have to be brutally honest and say, hey, this has a reason for being in the film. It helps drive it, and that's why it's there. It may not even be that beautifully shot, but we need this in there. And there'll be other things that, like, oh, I love that guy. I love that interview, or that. What about that home run, or that, that beautiful, unless it has a reason for being in the film, you just can't throw it in there. Otherwise, you're not, true to the needs of the narrative drive of a film. And it's hard. I learned a lot, and editing is a huge part of documentary filmmaking. It's actually way more, some editors actually get co-direct credits on documentaries because it's that heavily involved in terms of forcing or crafting the narration, the narrative, of the film. Sure. Whereas a feature film, you kind of have your story, it's already laid out, you have the shots to fit it, and an editor comes in and sort of, fine tunes and crafts it in a way. But documentaries, it's not for the light of heart when you get in that edit room. It's long and arduous, and it's just like, wow, how many Do we have to keep looking at this, or revisiting something, or trimming it? And they're hard decisions to make, but that's why it's rewarding. That when that thing flashes up on the screen as a final film in your first film festival, or a TV, or a video launch, it's just like, wow, you kind of like have this huge welling of feeling that kind of gets up inside of you, and like shed tears, basically.
No doubt. No doubt.
That's how hard it is.
I wanted to ask, when the Pete Porcelli portion of the film, when, like, did you have somebody in particular that would just follow him around to film his antics type idea, or were you part of that at any point?
I was very much part of it. I sort of, I think too that, let's be honest, when you make films or you make a documentary, there's manipulation. I mean, the world doesn't just come to you,
right,
just because you have a camera. You have to manipulate in a way that is inherent with your craft. It's storytelling. It's like somebody writing a novel. Well, you can't just write every darn thing that comes to your mind in the world. It's like you have to make it work. You have to craft things. You have to see if that falls into place. And so you have intuitive ideas about why Pete Porcelli should be in the film. And it's not until you get down there and you film him and he's, where are you going, Pete? Actually, I got my manicure right now, hey, can we film it? And it's like, ding, that's a great B-roll shot. Who else in the past is getting a personal manicure in the midst of a day of work and his, sort of Tampa Bay operational world. It's like, with monogrammed towels in the bathrooms and the rugs around his office. So it's those are the little moments like let's do that. Let's run with it. I didn't know that was going to happen, but that could be useful. But I go down to Pete. We would talk and I'd say, hey, we're hoping to come down. Would there be an opportune time? And so you either revolve it around a potential, a series, and then you say, hey, we'd like to, be able to interview at home. And so you have to kind of build these things. And, your mind is constantly abuzz when you're in the midst of a film. Like, how's this going to relate? What's going to work? What's not going to work? I never thought of that. You never know where an idea comes from. A cameraman may say, hey, I just saw so-and-so. Do you think it's worth? Yep, let's go. That's a great idea. Let's go grab that guy in the stands. I never saw him. And you set up an interview, and a lot of times you're flying by the seat of your pants, but there's always something in the back of your mind driving the reasoning behind it. Like, maybe this could work. Maybe that could work.
Yeah, sweet. Sure, man. That's the great insight to hear from. Actually, on the topic of Pete, I saw from a picture that you sent me, you actually got to play something for the Smokers?
Yep. There's some strange ironies in the film, and a lot of people have implored me way back in the day. You should have done a Fastpitch too, because you could have followed up on this and that. And,
I'm sure there's some stuff that you could have.
Yeah, would have been pretty remarkable. But I was in the sort of great Ashland tradition of putting the teams together. I ended up playing for Heflin Builders, who, if you recall, we were always in the hunt. We were always at sort of a top 10 team at the ISCs. Sometimes we finished 4th or 5th, maybe usually 8th or through 12, somewhere in that range. But we got a lot of bang for our buck. And I think at some point, Pete's finances started, he realized how much he was spending on his teams. He'd already won a world championship, so he's probably scaling back and saw an opportunity to merge with the Heflin team. So we became the Heflin Smokers. Oh. I think that was in 99. And so we were actually, from being whatever we were with Ashland, 37th in the world or 28th in the world, to we were preseason ranked, I believe, #1 team in the ISC when we formed as the Heflin Smokers. He had loaded up his guys, and Heflin brought over about a core group, and I think he saw it as an opportunity to put a quality team together and maybe not spend as much money and share the sort of sweat equity of Heflin with his own finances and the people he had already kind of lined up for the team.
Right.
But yeah, so I got to run through the smoke, and it was curious. We weren't as full fledged, but yeah, we had 7 or 8 uniforms. We had the throwbacks. We had the whole deal.
Jeez.
And once in a while, Smoking Joe would come out and smoke a stogie and run around the field, and it was fun.
That's so wild.
I have to admit, but going back to Pete, I think a lot of people, they've asked me in the past, like, oh, well, what do you think of him? Like, he was terrible for the game, or he wrecked it. And, did you like him as a person? And, I have to say, and I think I heard Nick even reference it, you may not always sort of condone the way people behave or what they do. And certainly did a lot of illicit things, outside the sport in order to make his world work. But in the context of taking the field or playing against him, I think that's one of the aspects of the film that always sort of intrigued me, was that, when you play sports, you cross over so many thresholds. There's so many levels of sort of camaraderie, acceptance, and you meet all kinds of characters. And I thought in this fast pitch world, it was like, how diverse a character group can you get between the Darren Zacks, the Pete Porcellis, the Shanes, the Nick McCurrys, and the native Lakota members of the North Americans, and just people on different journeys. But what kind of binded everybody together was this love and desire to play sports at a high level. And for me, that was always an interesting grab, something to really bind people. And so I've known in my own personal journey that I came from very diverse background, different background from a lot of ball players who I ended up playing with in college or wherever, or even in fast pitch. And they accepted me because I had a certain skill set, and I accepted them, and it kind of makes you tighter on so many levels. So, like, in a weird way, yeah, I felt a camaraderie with Pete in a way. Not that he was my closest friend by any means, and but I'm not a person who tends to be harshly judgmental. I'd like to be a more optimistic person, and I think in the context of like the current politic that's going on and the toxicity that our country is up against and parts of the world, that, like, if more people played sports, more people were on teams, more people, went after kind of challenges in front of them collectively, that we might be better off. That might be a little simplistic, but I do believe that people's personal journeys are marked by a lot of different things. And the people who played sports many times are better off, for it and their sort of character makeup. Not always, but many times they are.
Yeah, I could agree. That's very well said. I got to jump back to the whole Nick McCurry and Ashland thing, because
we love Nick.
I got to ask about how did you end up with Ashland? Because I know you said in the film that, he was looking for a shortstop, but walk us through that chat, because I'm guessing it wasn't just a 2-minute phone call.
Well, I don't even know if we had cell phones there. So it wasn't a phone call as much as it was an aside at a tournament.
Oh,
hey,
okay.
Would you ever consider, would you ever consider coming over and, maybe we'll put you out there and, give you this opportunity and that. And, that's pretty much how it went. I think I was conflicted at the time, because I consider myself a fairly loyal person. If I want to, see something do, and I'm committed to doing something, that, I'm going to do that. But I did make a hard choice. And after a lot of talk, and, I think it was before the ISC paperwork was due, I left the New Jersey Gators. I felt I wasn't necessarily getting opportunities I needed as much to blossom in the sport.
Mhm.
And Nick gave me that opportunity. And, I'd heard that I'd played against him once or twice. And, I always thought he was certainly capable. And there's a reason why he's, one of the stars, if not the star of the film. He has a sort of a unique, every man's kind of a personality to him. He's just really, what you see is what you get, in a really, really kind of nice way. And I still see it, Nick, at some of the I played in the over 60 ASA Nationals, and we lost to Ohio Battery in the finals in Houston 2 months ago.
Oh.
And you know what? If there's anybody I want to lose to, it's Nick.
There you go.
Love it. I love it. He's there all the time. He's still the same guy. What you see is what you get with Nick. And, I think, he had the biggest Rolodex in the game. And, yeah, he's had to make a lot of tough calls and pull people in. And he hasn't always, historically, I'm sure you'll find a lot of people say, well, he promised me this, he promised me that. And not always, coming through 100%. But it wasn't because of his it was always with the right intention in mind. It was just hard to do what he's always aimed to do. And we all know that sport. It's, there's if you have a big wallet, it's a lot easier to produce with some of the things that you promise. But at the end of the day, he'll always promise putting a quality team out there and doing what he can with what he's got. And anybody who sees that will respect him.
For sure. Yeah. So was your drawing feature the vehicle he was providing you? What was it, Hopi?
83 Buick Regency. It was diesel.
What was it? I remember that thing. Oh, I would drive from New York. I would drive from New York. My memory's a little foggy, but pretty sure the way working, it would be hot dries. I'd have all the windows down. And boy, when I pulled up to the Holland Tunnel or some line or a toll getting out of New York City, I kind of like slumped down in my chair a little bit, put my hat down low, because that thing was diesel. It was set up for diesel, and that thing was spewing smoke out the exhaust and coming to the car, and anybody who was near me was sharing that air, and I felt bad as heck. But you know what? One fill up, I never had to stop. 500 miles from New York City to Ashland, and it made it in one entire fill up on diesel. It was pretty awesome. Wow,
that's crazy. Nick told us about the story about it being stripped when you showed up.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
What happened there?
Yeah, I think my New York roots showed their face on that one. But I had what's funny? I'd never even noticed it, and I think I got there. Like, what the heck? And I'm like, what are you talking about? What did you do? And I'm thinking, oh my God, did I just, ram somebody and never notice it on that? I mean, I had no idea what it was on, but then I'd look down and I'd say, ooh, I think the whole fence, the bumper, the whole setup is gone, the grill and everything. I was like, gee, Nick, I don't know what to say. But,
still getting good gas mileage though.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So I got to ask, any good stories from the Love Shack or what?
Are you allowed to tell us? Shane couldn't tell us.
No comment.
No, I actually thought there was better stories, just kind of like the traffic in the parking lot that the Love Shack shared with like the Moose Bar, whatever the heck it was called. I think Shane nicknamed the Moose. Man, what was it? The Moose Lodge. He called it something funny, but it was it was always lively there because people would just sort of pull up to that bar, and when it was closing time, they sort of just hang out right on our doorsteps or say, "Hey, it's Shane," and Shane knew everybody. Yeah. But that was a single wall construction that Love Shack, that yellow painted, somewhat decrepit home that we were put up in, and boy, you couldn't get enough fans in that house during the middle of the day if we were left there to our own devices. It was just like I don't know. It was a movie set. It was really something else in there.
Shane told us it was nice on the inside.
Okay.
No comment.
Okay. Too funny.
Yeah, it was not the appointed vintage household. Let's put it that way. Everything was falling apart.
Perfect. I got to ask about your first ISCs. What do you remember about that? And was it everything that you thought it was going to be?
Well, it doesn't fully jibe with the construct of the film, but I actually went to my first ISC under a lot of duress. I had popped a hamstring 10 days before it, playing in a local tournament, and I was with the Gators. And I had also gotten this idea. I wanted to start getting a film crew and start to begin to film a little bit of what this world was about, not knowing that it was going to be part of my Ashland, that Ashland was really going to be the center of it, or that, I was going to focus on Shane at that point. It was just like, hey, let's just go. I have this idea. There's a film here, and I'm not sure what it is, but my first time I had ever gone out with a film crew. I had never made even a home video before. And I had a torn hamstring. I got cortisone shots in it. I did everything I could. I was having some relationship issues. I was on the road. I was like, oh my God, everything's just crazy. But it all played out. And it was in Sioux City, Iowa. And I played really well defensively. So on a personal level, I thought, wow, I'm doing my job here. Mm-hmm. I think I got a few at bats and, kind of got the nature of the game. But I was really, really taken in by the whole, I don't know if you've ever been to Sioux City, but the backdrop, and it was there was industrial yards behind us. And I think there were cornfields, and it was just there was really a slice out of Americana. And I thought, this is exactly the kind of world I thought it was going to be. And, that's when I started conducting the first interviews, I think the North Americans, and they were there, and I got to, meet a few of the other top players in the game and get some footage and see, Pete Meredith throw for the first time, and a few other people. And it was just Mike Pietnik, we actually lost, I think in extra innings or in the last inning to the farm that year. And we were just the lowly New Jersey Gators, upstart New Zealanders and kids who hadn't really played in the game very long. So we did pretty well. And it was the beginning of my wide-eyed journey into the sport. It was this is really, really cool.
Right on. I got to ask about Bruce Franklin. Sorry. Okay. Okay. How long was that car ride with him, first of all? Because he seemed like he was going to lose it.
He was pretty angry.
So I don't know if this is too much information for the purpose of this interview, but I'm going to give you really, I said I sort of glossed over my first entry into the game. This is really what happened. I tried out from, I told you that I was playing in sort of local modified leagues in New York City, and we had a bunch of really good players. Mm-hmm. And I had heard about, through some of the players, that they were having these national tryouts for the Maccabi team that goes to Israel. So my father, not by practice, but by bloodline, is Jewish. And I wasn't raised Jewish, but, my bloodline is half Jewish or close to it. And they have an Olympic style event in Israel every 4 years, and fast pitch softball was one. So I'd never even heard about really fast pitch. I kind of heard about Eddie Feiner, and I knew there was this windmill version of the game, but up close, I'd never seen it. So Steve Shucker, who ended up being my teammate for many years on the fast pitch record, he and I drove down to Philadelphia and made the team based on our, baseball skills, our speed, our defense, and so forth, having never played the game. So we went to Israel and got a silver medal that year. So one of the players on that team was Kenny Erickson. who was one of the USA. He was the head coach of the USA women's team for many years, and he also had played on the national team. But he was the one who sort of like opened our eyes to the game. It was like, we're only in Israel for 2 weeks, but we were like, you live in Florida and you play for a team called Larry Miller in Salt Lake City, and you play 8 games a year and you have fancy uniform, and like, what is going on here? So he explained kind of the construct of this, what was considered the open men's game, and the top sort of premier teams in it. And he said, there's one out of New York State called OTB or Heflin, and I can make a recommendation that you guys try out for the team. So that was 93 that we made that team. The whole world was really exciting. Softball had just been opened up to me in a way I never thought existed. And the next year I went out. Steve Schucker couldn't make the tryout, but I sort of had a little bit of an open tryout, and Heflin had me come down, and I made the team. So I ended up traveling with Heflin for the first 2 or 3 months of that season. And it was like Frankie Perez, George Sepulveda, Stevie Price, Randy Peck, Jeff Seed, Byron DeMoe. They were all on that team, and I was like, this is crazy. I never knew this existed. So all of a sudden I'm thrust into this. Bruce Franklin was the only guy from my area who was actually on this New York-based team. And he and I ended up sharing a lot of car rides up to meet Tom McAvoy and the team band that would leave from Middletown area. And most of that, at least for those days, like half of their season, if not more, was played in Canada at sort of the Waterloo, Perth, Catford Mines, and they played up there. And, they picked up a lot of the Halifax guys too at some point. I think Dwayne Miller might have been on that team for a year. But, that was my true introduction to ISE Fast Pitch. I never had played. Prior to that, I think my first guy I ever faced was Andy Jackson up in Milverton or somewhere. And I ended up walking, and like Bruce Franklin said, hey, you can do that regularly. You're going to have success in this game. Because I guess he thought I was seeing the ball well. Well, I didn't walk very much in my career. Let's put it that way. But I was lucky enough to do it the first time around, and I realized that these car rides were it was crazy. I couldn't do it at that time in my life, so I ended up only going on about 4 weeks with them. But I got a sense of what the hell was going on with this game, and Bruce was like my ride. So he and I kind of got close for a while. We would end up driving his car, and he would drop me off at where I'd rented a car, left a car near his house, and he would actually drive into New York City the next morning after tournaments, because he was actually a school teacher at a prestigious upscale school in New York City, which was very surprising to me, if you know.
Yeah.
So I got a window into his world, and so he felt comfortable with me, and I think that car ride was emblematic of him being Bruce and knowing who I was and being comfortable to let it fly, whatever was on his mind. He was a little bit angry that day, but he had anger issues. It's well documented. He was a very, very gifted Division I shortstop. He played at Coastal Carolina and was going to be drafted, or did get drafted, excuse me. And, I think he'd already been drafted pretty, 20th round, 20th or 30th round, something like that. Not a high draft pick, but he had the opportunity to play professional baseball. And he shattered his wrist on a water cooler towards the end of his college career, and never suited up and never, fulfilled that contract. So he was always, haunted by that. And, but there was another film there, but Bruce, he he knew the game really, really well. He was a very, very insightful guy. And I think that's kind of what, in general, like I was so taken with when I first traveled with Heflin that first month or 4 or 5 weeks. It was like the quality of players and their knowledge of the game. I was like, these guys are really, really professional at what they do. And that sort of speaks to, a lot of the core of that team. Well, Darren Ray from New Zealand was also on that team, and Stevie Price and Jeff Seed and Randy Peck. These guys were just, really, really knew how to handle themselves and approach the game. And I learned a lot from them in terms of the, how to basically approach the game.
Right on.
So that was the beginning, but it wasn't my true beginning. That's like the next year when I actually, Bill Culligan, who was the New Jersey Gators sponsor, started his team the next year, and he had been an assistant coach with Heflin that year that I first started, and he had asked me to come out with my friend Steve Shucker, and so we became New Jersey Gators that year. And I think he grabbed Darren Ray and brought over about 4 or 5 Kiwis that year, on mostly on Darren's advice from his knowledge of players who would be good fits. And then that's really the year that I started the whole commitment to the sport.
Right.
But I had a glimpse of it through Heflin and Bruce and sharing car rides with all those guys. And
awesome. That's a great backstory for, I just asked about Bruce, and that's, I love hearing backstories like that. Those are always awesome to hear.
Bruce Franklin, as angry as he was, he's like, he would always ask me, why am I doing this? What the hell? Even my mom
Even my mom asked, that's right.
But he was always conflicted because it was such a big commitment to go do this. And, he struggled to make it as a teacher in New York City and live in suburban New York. And, it was hard, but he loved it. But he goes, you know what? And he repeated this many times. I do it because of Mac, Tom McAvoy, our coach, and God rest his soul. He was an amazing guy, and really, in some ways was a Nick McCurry of the East Coast. He kind of had his own demeanor, but you couldn't get mad at the guy. You just couldn't. He loved it. It was in his blood. He woke up all the time thinking about it. It's what kept him going. And Bruce always commented, "Man, I don't know why I do this. What the hell am I traveling? Why am I driving around? Why do I do this?" It always come back to the conclusion, I love Mac. I love Mac. I got to do it for him.
I picture him dropping about 17 F-bombs in the middle of all that while you're
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Actually, you touched on what you talked about the Maccabi team there. You were inducted to the Maccabi Hall of Fame?
I was for softball. And I guess if you do anything enough in your life, sometimes people take notice. I ended up playing in, I think, 3 open games and then 2 at the Masters levels. And it's funny that, a lot of these, what people consider Masters these days, like those games, you're over 35, you're a Masters. And here in Hawaii, I played in some local leagues that they call what they call Makule in Hawaii. It's like the old timers or old guys league, and it's like it's 35. Like, what's so old about that? It's like, you guys got this right.
That's not old, a little bit.
Yeah. But I think in tune with what we were talking about, how people pursue sport much longer now. Once upon a time, 35 was considered like, wow, why are you doing that? Or how can you get into something so late? So really, Masters in this day and age probably should be something like 45 or 50.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think here our Masters, what is it, 40?
40, yeah.
40 and over. So, I'm 40. I'm 43 right now and still pitching, and I still feel, trying to pitch, but I still feel like I have a lot more years left under the belt.
You do.
Yeah.
And you take care of yourself. I probably hit my prime in fast pitch as I was 40 or 41. I was that year I played for the Smokers. I played for them 2 years, and that's probably somewhere when I was about 41, 42, I considered it to be my prime. Athletically in the sport,
Yeah, I guess
So
keeping yourself in shape, that's a big thing. I probably should start doing it. AOP.
So practice what you preach right now. Yes, I would say you should. Yeah.
Oh God. Anyway, Jeremy, we got a little thing we end the podcast with. We call it player association. I'm gonna throw some names out to you, and you touch on. You can touch on them however you want.
okay.
All right. First one. I need to know about this guy, Hayden Smith.
The heater. Eccentric, lovable, musical, great guy. And you never knew exactly where he was coming from, but in a really good way.
Man. Yeah, he from what I could see on the film, like he seemed like a guy that I would definitely hang around with, and sit down in the beer garden and have some pops with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he definitely what did they say? Beat he beat his own drum, so to speak.
That's awesome. Next, Darren Zach.
Huge heart. Person that when I ever would want to start a team with, that's the guy I would start it with.
Mm-hmm.
Just truly a class competitor. And I ended up playing with him in a lot of Masters. And I think we've won the ASA Masters with Darren 2 or 3 times in the over 40s, maybe over 50s as well.
Wow.
And money on the line. There's nobody I would personally want to win a game than Darren.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I played with Michael White too, and I know there's a lot of people out there who would say the same about other people, and I'm sure that's absolutely there's many people who have that quality, but the one I've seen up close is Darren Zach, and he's just a gamer, and just like Mick McCurry, it's in your blood. When I heard people saying, well, he ain't the same guy when he's 45. He doesn't throw it the same well when he's 50. Of course not. Nobody does.
No.
But he's still doing it because he loves it, because he's a competitor, and he loves the camaraderie and being out there with the guys. And that's why you end up doing it. You don't do it when you get older because,
yeah,
you can strike out as many people or you're going to have as many all world, plaques. It's about that.
Absolutely. Next we got Shane Hunu.
Shane, huge talent. I think people don't realize how good this guy was. He was so powerful and strong, and he wasn't even that big a guy. Like, he's probably closer to my height. He's probably only maybe 5'9", but he looked like he was a powerful bat up there. And he was just, he's somebody that I think some people say, well, there's a little bit of talent wasted in the game. He should have been better. He could have been this if he'd taken more care of himself. But, there's always a trade-off. It's like he ended up getting married. He ended up having all these experiences in Ashland and other places. And he was, beyond anything, he was really loyal. He was really loyal to Nick, and he was loyal to him on the film. And, he was loyal to the people that he met with a big smile. Like, they could count on him. And I think that's what, really sort of transcended the kind of cultural and ethnic and all those differences that we saw in a place like Ashland. It was like, when your heart is good and you care about people and you're willing to put yourself out for them, good things happen in those relationships. And I saw that through Shane, everywhere he turned.
Awesome.
Did he eat too many Taco Bells?
Maybe.
And double Whopper cheeseburger? Sure. Yeah, he probably did. But, that's the trade-off. He was just who he was, and he was a lovable character, and people loved to be around him.
Absolutely. We just got done talking to him. Actually, his podcast comes out tonight as we're talking right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
And yeah, he was such a joy to talk to. I mean, we were supposed to talk to him
Once he found his phone.
Once he found his phone and wallet, he lost them. And we had to like reschedule the whole thing, but it was all good.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and the fun thing, part of his lovable character is like half the time he makes up things with his language use, and you don't know what the heck he's talking about. But you still smile and you go with it because he's got a nickname or a way of describing something, you know, in his own way. That's a Shane Hunu-ism, so to speak.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right. Last but not least, of course, we gotta talk about him. Our friend Nick McCurry.
Oh, Nick. A man for all seasons. I mean, truly, I think I touched on it. I mean, there is a reason why, you know, he's kind of the heartbeat of the game. And I think in the film, when you've seen all these cast of characters and he sort of, you know, finishes up the film and sort of like why you do it. And, you know, sort of the bittersweet pill of not finishing at the ISC where you want to, but hey, you still gotta take it. Have a smile and just get up and do it again. I mean, to me, that embodies a spirit that, you know, we should always aspire to. Just the need to just wake up and do it again and keep trying and do it with a smile and treat people with, you know, respect and yeah, great guy. Just a great guy.
Absolutely. Well, Jeremy, we got to thank you for coming on here, man. This has been awesome, you know, to hear the whole insight. I got to thank you again for making the movie because I watch it all the time.
Yeah, we're looking forward to Fastpitch too.
But no, man, we got to thank you.
I didn't think I could speak as much as Nick McCurry, but I might have just done it. So what I've given you is good. You can edit it properly. I know what it is to be in the edit room.
Right.
Do me right. Don't make it too loquacious and over the top. And
oh man,
for sure.
That's awesome. You know, thanks again for coming on, man. You know, all the best going forward.
Yeah, have fun surfing.
My pleasure. Again, thank you guys for doing what you do. You got to do everything to keep the things alive that mean something to us, and you guys are obviously doing that.
Awesome.
Great.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Take care.
Okay.
Take care, man.
Be well, guys.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Whew.
Wow. Good podcast, Randy.
Good. I know.
Oh, fuck.
Do you know how many times I've actually said that?
Yeah, too many times.
A lot. It's like I'm from Boston.
It's podcast.
It's like I'm from podcast.
Anyway, back to the podcast.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Great guy.
Oh,
You know, I don't know what he does for a living. We didn't ask him, but it sounds to me like he should be teaching. Honestly. He used really big words that you're never going to understand. I understood every one of them.
Going to Yale.
I'm just joking.
Going to Yale. Man.
Yeah, no. Smart guy.
Yeah.
Loved the game. Loves the game.
Yep.
Oh, fuck.
Still playing. Still playing to this day.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah. Seems like they have a lot more opportunity down in the States.
than we do.
Yeah. Like the Masters and the over blah, blah, blahs and the Maccabi. And
yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Maccabi, you got to be Jewish.
Oh, no, I understand that. I just mean, I've never heard of it until from the States. I don't think we sent anything from Canada.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
No.
Anyway,
no, that was, I mean, I left out some questions that I had.
Yeah.
I know he had places to be and
for sure. No, that was a good lengthy one.
You know what I want to ask him because actually Billy Hillhouse actually wanted me to ask him about, remember the guy in the film, I think it was grandma's son there that had to wire for his shoelace. Billy wanted me to ask him about do you know what that guy's up to these days? I totally I wish I could ask, but
you're not that smart.
I know. Anyway, another week. We're getting close to Christmas. Actually, this will be coming out. Christmas is like in
2 weeks,
6 days. No, when this comes out.
Oh, when this comes out, yeah.
Come on.
Sorry.
So, to all of our listeners, Merry Christmas. All the best over the holidays. Like we said here plenty of times, do not drink and drive.
Thank you for listening. Like, share.
Follow us on all social media platforms.
Yeah, have safe holidays. Looking forward to a good 2022. Hopefully everybody will be on the ball field in 2022.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Okay. Merry Christmas. Take care. Okay. Cheers.
Classified.
All right, kids. Time to get in bed. Santa's coming soon. Okay. Can you read a book? All one story, all right? Here we go.
On a not so silent night, stay by the fire, baby. It's so cold outside.
'Tis the season.
Let it snow, 'cause it's already 10 below. We find the love out here on this Christmas night. The bells are ringing, ringing.
Okay, we'll grab the decorations. Don't forget tradition. Baby, it's cold outside. You need to get your mittens. Hang the mistletoe and write your Christmas wishes. It's better to give than receive. Show the kids the difference. Cause this year has been a tough one. I'm just trying to celebrate and spend it with my loved ones. Spread some cheer, pouring festive beer. I appreciate the blessings I was blessed with here. Uncle Chris and Aunt Lee are reminiscing on the front porch. Little Tay-Tay trying to build another snow fort. I hear the church bells ringing. I'll be there Christmas Eve with my family all singing hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. I said we be all singing hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Say
On a not so silent night, stay by the fire, baby. It's so cold outside. We're singing let it snow, 'cause it's already 10 below. We find the love out here on this Christmas night. The bells are ringing, ringing.
okay, well I'll be ready with the lights on. Got the decorations up, it's taking me all night long. Log on the fire, put on my ugly sweater. The children
Are you downsizing? Maybe need more room because of additions to the family, or possibly seeking that dream home you've always wanted. Well, Tim Eisner at Royal LePage Atlantic is the guy for you. With a proven track record and multiple awards, Tim goes above and beyond to find out your needs and exactly what you're looking for. So if you're seeking a new home or trying to sell your current one, contact Tim at 902-499-5717 or check him out on Facebook at Tim Eisner. Again, that's 902-499-5717. Trust me, when all is said and done, we'll be saying Tim Eisner strikes again.